All right, guys. It's another podcast. We're getting ready for one, but I got to tell you, we had that plane crash in Washington D.C. last week, and it hit home, man. Because my wife flies into Reagan. She flew out Saturday, flew home out of Amy's porch window when that accident happened. I was watching the news. I texted her. She wasn't aware of it. I said, "Hey, look out the window," because her window looks right at the Potomac. And
Oh,
she
really?
saw all the commotion and everything going on. And
Oh,
then
wow.
when she flew home, she looked out the window and she could see the wreckage, and they were working down there on the Potomac. What an awful tragedy that we had to deal with there, man. And it just like I said, it hit home because she flies into that airport and just flew out Saturday, so it was kind of eerie.
Yeah,
Has
especially
there
when not only you can see it, but when she's in the midst of doing some travel. That's
Right,
definitely crazy to think about.
crazy
has there
timing
been
for
any
sure.
answers on what the hell happened there?
Still a lot of speculation that they got to prove some things, but the latest I heard is the helicopter was too high. It's only supposed to be up 200 feet, and supposedly it was 350 foot. And there's been a couple different angles to see the helicopter, and I mean it's headed right. I mean I can't believe they couldn't avert it. It was going right
Right.
at the plane.
Right. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of conspiracies
Oh yeah,
flying around with everything anymore nowadays, but like the black box was recovered and they're hoping to get some answers from that and
right.
some other stuff. But you just wonder what we're actually going to hear about it. But definitely crazy because then the one in Philadelphia and there's been a couple other ones. It's just kind of a weird time because I know you got a little bit of travel coming. I have some travel coming next week,
Yeah.
hopping on a plane. It's a little bit like I don't know, you don't want to think about things, but it's like what the heck is going on right now with people and the air travel.
Well, it's still, they look at all the statistics and it's still safer than driving an automobile statistically. But it's weird when you're in this situation and you have to fly somewhere. Like you said, you have to fly somewhere. I'm going to be flying somewhere tomorrow. Um, Back in 1987, this was when I hardly ever flown. It was one of my first or second trips on a plane. A week before, we were flying to New Mexico to play in a softball national championship tournament. We went down to Detroit the night before, went to a Tiger game, but then we flew out the next day. But the story is there was a major plane crash in '87 at Metro where the plane took off and then just crashed into an embankment. And one little girl survived that crash, and two Corona Cavaliers died on that crash
Oh, really?
from Arizona. The plane was going to Arizona, but talk about feeling weird when you're going to the airport and you see the crash area, where all the grass is burnt and stuff. They had already
Right.
cleared out the fuselage and all that, but that was an eerie feeling. I got a feeling it's going to
For
be
sure.
deja vu tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. That I had never heard that story before. And
It's
that's
I believe there's they were in some way attached to Hill's golf course, right?
Attached to what?
I thought they were attached to Corona Hills Golf Course in some way. Or
Yes.
one of the victims
Yeah.
from Corona was,
Yeah.
at least, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Yeah, they have a
Craig
plaque
Craig
on the
Hale
main
and his
hole.
Craig Hale and his
okay.
wife. Absolutely, it was unreal. Hit home.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
about
Especially when you're about to fly out too. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, like you said, the statistics, it's still the safest way to travel, overall or whatever. But whenever you think about how many car crashes there are every day.
I
Sadly,
know.
I mean, I swear every morning that I'm taking my kids to school and daycare, I sometimes I feel old. I still turn on like the local radio stations instead of listening
Right.
because I just like to hear, some what's going on or whatever.
Sure.
But whenever they do the traffic report, I swear every day, major accidents on the highway, holding
Oh,
traffic up, or whatever. And it's just so, that happens daily. And that kind of stuff doesn't happen very often, with air travel. It's just when it does happen, you hear about it. So,
yeah. Yeah.
it's
Well,
still not, it's an uneasy feeling sometimes.
definitely. Well, I didn't mean to start it off on a downer note here. You guys must have some better uplifting news maybe to start this portion.
I mean, I
Yeah.
kind of mentioned it a little bit. Jared, you've probably got some stories. You always do. But I know, Ted, you're about to go on a little vacation. You were hoping that you'd be
Yep.
going to New Orleans to
All right.
possibly watch the Lions in the Super Bowl.
Scratch that.
You've scratched that a little bit. And yeah, my wife and I are taking a trip next week. I can maybe mention it a little more on next week's pod, but
Yeah.
it's that feeling. And we've talked about it before, Jared. I know you've talked about it. Like when you're leading up to a vacation, I have to work this whole week. It's hard to like check in to this week of work. I mean, all I'm thinking about, I end up having like 10 days off, 10 or 11 days off after this week.
Nice.
I'm already there. I'm already on vacation. I mean, I hope this week at work is just smooth sailing, nothing crazy, no drama, no stress. Just get through this week.
And it never is. Vacation. It's always the wildest week of the year, and every day you work, and somehow you're working up until the night before you leave. That just seems to be my luck anyway.
Yeah.
It's never a smooth week, in my opinion. And it takes forever. You're like, it's going to take 3 weeks to get through this week, man.
Yeah, it already feels like it is. I do have to mention, so anyone listening or watching this podcast on YouTube, or if we post any clips, your cat is just in the zone back there.
It's kind of weird. It's weird. He loves when I do the podcast. He always is he just, I don't know. I think I just have such a soothing voice. No, it's probably your voice, Ted. He probably loves it so much.
Is that what it is?
He follows me around when I do the podcast. He doesn't care about me at all unless I'm doing the podcast. So yeah, he's kind of just chilling there, man. Notice how he doesn't move. It's like he's dead.
What's your cat's name? What's the name?
He was originally, so he had 13 years where when a previous owner was going to put him down. Dropped him off to Humane Society. His name was Captain. He picked up by the Crooked Tree Nursery where I worked at with my girlfriend, and the most used plant in all of like landscaping is called a Carl Forster bush. And so he had a brother, one's named Forster. He actually got by a car, passed away, and his name is Carl. So Carl Forster. So Carl.
Okay.
Got a wild name. Every time I say it, people like scoff, like what? So I feel like I have to preface it with the whole backstory of his name because it is
Carl the cat.
Carl the cat.
Weighs about 20 pounds. He's a chunkerson. So,
but you're saying 13 years and Crooked Tree. That was a couple years. So is this cat like 16 years old?
He's 15. Yeah,
wow.
15, 16, somewhere right around there. So still going strong, man.
I better double check him during the podcast. Make sure he's still alive.
Yeah. So yeah, that's him. Now he's turned away, but I think the listeners had enough of this cat conversation.
Carl the cat.
I'll tell a quick little story. It's not even really a story, but it was more so just a funny encounter. So my brother's getting married in March. I've been putting off getting fitted for my suit basically as long as I could. So I finally went and got fitted at Men's Warehouse for it. Mm-hmm. And let me just say, like, the experience of getting fitted for a suit, I've never before. It is awesome. You feel like a baller, like throughout the whole process, even at a Men's Warehouse where it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. Maybe not quite that suave experience you see in like The Hangover or something like that. But anyway, so as you guys know, I've been kind of grinding in the gym and health wise and eating. So I'm like, I knew going into it, like this guy's gonna think I'm such an idiot and he's just got to do his job. But I'm like, I'm getting size and things are fitting a little snug. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I know you probably get this a lot, but like I am exercising and dieting and like I'm probably going to be, probably 15, 20 pounds lighter by the time March 22nd rolls around when this suit comes back. He goes, oh, all right, I get it. So then he goes and like quizzes me. This is kind of hilarious. Almost like he's like a nutritionist. Like, oh, how many days a week are you working out? How long until the wedding? How long you been working out already? How much weight have you lost already? And I'm like, dude, I like basically just got started. I understand why you're so skeptical about it. But this is just the reality. Like I'm probably going to get resized as soon as the suit comes in. Knock on wood if I stay committed. So I'm just going back and forth with this guy. I can just tell from the look on his face, like he doesn't believe a word I'm saying. So sure enough, he has to fit you exactly to how you are. Like it probably is a rule, I would guess, if they're mandated. So I get fitted. I go through this whole fitting experience, and I tell this guy is like a new employee, just like from how like he always has a question about everything. And then there's this old timer, this OG across the room, who like is just like sharp as a whip. Like this is like when I'm getting fitted for the suit, I'm like, I want this guy to fit me. No offense to you, but like you're a trainee. Like I kind of want this guy to fit me. So I go through the whole process of getting fitted. Literally, I'm there for an hour. They go, oh, this guy's trying to put the order through. Nah, sorry, man, the order's not coming through. You're just going to have to come back again tomorrow and get fitted. So I go through this whole hour-long process, Men's Warehouse. All right, Dan, whatever, I'll leave. I come back, go through the whole entire process again, and finally get it submitted. So I don't really know what the punchline of the story was, and was the 2-second interaction with this guy where I said, "Hey, I'm going to lose some weight," and you could just see behind his eyes, he got, this guy doesn't know goddamn. He's going to come back in here in a couple weeks, and he's going to fit right into the suit to get him fit into right now. So I don't know, man. Do with that story what you will, but hopefully I prove this guy wrong. It's kind of a motivation for the next month or two, where I can walk back in and say, "Hey, yeah, you know the suit that you just ordered? Guess what? Now you're gonna have to go back to work. You have to go take it in the back room. You're gonna have to make alterations to it because I made weight and you didn't believe it when I told you." Probably not gonna happen, but that's kind of the goal. So that's
what I was gonna say. That's your motivation now. You got to prove this guy wrong. Right. But I mean, you have to assume that he probably hears that with almost everyone, right? No, you measure me now, but trust me, I'm gonna be trim. I'm gonna lose some weight. So. Because if he gave you the smaller size and you didn't lose that weight, then you need a completely different suit. So
and he would be kind of the blame, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
So
I do like that what is happening nowadays compared to when people got married when I was young. I mean, it was always rent a tuxedo, but nowadays it seems like most everybody is buying suits, which it makes more sense, right? Because you get to wear it in the future too.
Or at least buy something part of it. Maybe you rent the jacket but buy something where it's like you're going to spend the money. You might as well get something that you get to keep, even if you have to spend a few more bucks. Well, now you got a nice suit or whatever.
Yeah,
it was the difference of like $150 to rent. Just buy it. And I don't have like any dress clothes. Like I'll be honest, like fun. I was actually thinking about this. Ironically enough, your like golden alumni event. I remember thinking, like, dude, I got nothing to wear to this goddamn thing. So I had to go in my dad's closet and grab like a 30-year-old like Ralph Lauren like polo to fly. So hopefully I can avoid that situation going forward.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of that, speaking of the Golden Alumni, this second annual is Dave St. John's. Want to congratulate him on being honored. The only bummer about it is, won't be able to attend. You won't be able to attend. Johnny's wedding is that day.
Oh, I was going to say, is it, I can't say you're probably expected, but are you expected to be there now? Like if you can make it,
I kind of figured so. Yeah.
It's like the Heisman Trophy, man. It's the Heisman Trophy. If you win it, you got to be back every year until you can't no more. That's how I like to view it.
Yeah.
And it's a good cause too. I mean, it's to support our school. So I'm all about that, but I had a legit excuse not to make it for sure.
That's a good one. And so, I remember him, growing up through the years. I know he's held a few different positions in the school district or whatever. He's done a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I forget while I was going through exactly what he was doing, but I definitely remember his name and so much deserved for sure.
Yeah, he's from my era. I played sports with him, and he was 1 year older than I. But we played basketball, baseball, football. I mean, little league, pony league. So and he's a true Cavalier. That's what it's all about. So congratulations again to Dave, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. By the way, we should tell everybody this is episode 346 of the 3 Point Podcast, presented by the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. Make sure you follow them on Facebook. Find out how to save on a membership. All kinds of fitness classes and access to all their top-notch amenities. More info can be found at memorialhealthcare.org. Also want to thank our other partners. They include AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, Shiawassee County Fair, and the ALS of Michigan. We'll be right back. We'll start this thing off with the Prep Spotlight right after these messages. All right, it's time for the Prep Spotlight, presented by the Jacobs Insurance Agency, local, independent, and trusted. We'll start right in boys basketball. Game heard on Z92.5 last Friday night and replayed here at 3 Point Podcast. Chesaning made a little statement. They downed over at LC 57-52. Braden Florian had 16. Luke Barta a double-double with 12 points and 13 rebounds. Indians now 13-3 on the season, 10-2 in the MMAC. They got a big matchup tomorrow night at the Chesaning Gym against first place Mount Morris. They can virtually pull into a tie if they can beat the Panthers in that one. So it was a fun game to do. As we talked about, I was filling in for Casey. It was fun. It was good to be back in the saddle again. Had a lot of fun with it. Good game helps, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Was that at OE? I forget if it
Yeah,
was.
it was at OE, packed house, they
Yeah.
really jammed that gym. It was loud. It was fun.
That's a fun gym to play.
I
And I know you mentioned the game Chesaning has tomorrow. We're recording Monday night.
Right?
I think we've mentioned it before, but probably when we talked to, I feel like we've talked to their coach at one point, or definitely their football coach. But anyway, Chesaning's basketball gym is just a classic. It's like
Oh, yeah.
the fans are right on the court. The lighting is kind of like orangish,
Yeah.
It's just the Chesaning court is such a great environment for high school hoops.
Yeah, it really is. Ovid
really
Elsie's is
is.
too, actually, and it has a really good shooting background because the walls are really close to
Yeah.
the baskets, which makes for good shooting background.
Yeah, I noticed that forward Grand Valley head coach and Chesaning alum Rick Wesley was wondering why you didn't extend an invite to him to join you on the broadcast.
I know. I did respond back that we'll hook him up down the road as a third mic if we do another Chesaning game this season, which I got a feeling we probably will when we get to the
Yeah.
districts. Other games, we got to talk about the Freeland Falcons. They had a couple big wins this last week. They downed Garber 69-45. Tristan Comer had 26 in that one. And last week, Freeland, no problem with Alma, 74-47. Junior Wilson Huckabee passed the 1,000-point milestone with 25 points. Looks like they got a nice, well-rounded team. And if any of our listeners are interested, Freeland has a pretty good Facebook page, and Gianni Fattel was looking really good in one of the pictures I saw, all decked out in his nice suit, on the sidelines. It was a great GQ type of picture. I loved it.
They do have a great, almost like Corona-esque, like social, like you get pictures after every game, the write-ups, the stories. It's a good little community that keeps you updated. Just like you said, that I'm sure it's the same exact Facebook page that I follow. It's almost like beat writers on the case at these games. So yeah.
Yeah,
they're good. I mean, it's keep improving. I mean, they're full of juniors, so they're just going to keep getting more and more experience as they go. So just got to keep getting better and hopefully win the conference.
Go Freeland. Also in boys basketball, Duran down Lakeville, 81-46. Kingston Kilbourne had 14. Perry over Bath, 63-41. Anthony Cochran had 23 to lead the Ramblers in that one. Big game on Z92.5 tomorrow night, Tuesday night. Langsburg travels over to Perry to take on the Ramblers. So you can hear that game live on Z92.5 or the replay right here at 3 Point Podcast. Also, New Lothrop over Birch Run, 52-36. Brady Coleman had 27. Get this, guys, in girls basketball, Morris down Burton Bendel 60-16. That's not the big story. The big story is Alexa Rose set a new school record with 33 rebounds, broke the record of 31 held by Lynn Bolick in 1982. 33 boards, man. That's telling you that the other team's not shooting too good.
So that's more than a rebound a minute if you are doing the math in a high school basketball game. And given she probably didn't play every second of the game, probably was snagging a couple rebounds every time up the floor. Pretty amazing.
It really was.
Well, some of those are probably offensive too. So she's cleaning up from her teammates' misses and then putting the ball in, or whatever. But that's 33 rebounds is insane.
That's working hard. That's Dennis Rodman stuff right there for sure. In other games, Ovid Elsey down Chesaning 45-18. Danica Campbell had 10 in that one. New Lothrop over Birch Run 61-35. Caitlin Wendling 18 for the Hornets. And in swimming, a couple of good swimming stories. Corunna improved to 6-0 in dual meets, spanking Carroll 120-56. Peyton Chandler had a first and a second, and Nolan Carr took first in the 100 freestyle. And Owasso continues to roll. I should check out the schedule, see when they go to head-to-head, Corunna and Owasso. Owasso's been just dominating teams, 130-54 over Holly. Trojans improved to 5-0, winning 11 of the 12 events. Blake Binger led the way, winning both the 100 and the 200 freestyle. And I think we've talked about it before. We focus a lot on football and basketball, of course, but, going to a swim meet at the high school level or any level, it's awesome, man. And the excitement level that when they go wire to wire, the 100 is really exciting. It's a lot of fun to go to a swim meet.
It really is. I was going to ask that. So obviously you have. Jared, have you ever been to a high school swim meet?
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah, you need to do it. So I don't know when you would do it now, obviously, but maybe if
I would call the
Owasso
cops on me if I showed up at a school and swim meet right about now.
Just some random dude at a high school swim meet. Yeah, it might be kind of weird, but it is such a cool environment, especially Karana's pool. I've been at Owasso's too, but Karana's, with the bleachers kind of above the pool. Most of them are kind of like that, but it's like hot and humid in there, and just reeks of chlorine, and you get splashed by water sometimes. The cheering is loud, and you got the buzzers, and it's just, it really is a cool environment. One of my sisters swam, so I went to a bunch of her meets, but then I went sometimes, to watch friends or whatever. But no, swim meets are cool. And then with that, I think, Ted, before the retirement becomes official, you need to call a swim meet for the castle. I think you need to put that feather in the cap and do a little homework. And if Owasso and Karana are meeting, do a swim meet. That'd be cool.
They may have to do a Facebook Live, right?
Right.
Something like that. Hey, maybe I might do
I
that.
would love to test your abilities. I don't even know how I guess you'd call it like a horse race, I guess.
You'd have to.
Yeah, that would be interesting to hear on the radio. I'm in favor of that. Test your skills.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we can come up with. By the way, we'll end this portion with kind of a weird story coming out of Owasso. And I know you guys saw some of the articles, the whole fiasco with Steve Ireland retiring, we'll say, but if you read between the lines and some of the stuff that's been in the media, it just sounded like it was just an ugly situation. It probably wasn't handled well. I won't give any opinions one way or the other, but it's just sad to see something like that happen at the high school level, where he kind of was really forced out.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully there was either way. Hopefully he wasn't done wrong, and then hopefully some of the rumors about why he was out, aren't true too. So we don't know all the details. We don't want to, speculate anything on what actually happened. But either way, that's even though we're Karana people, you don't want to see something like that happen to a school district like Owasso. So hopefully they can kind of figure it out, and then also hire someone good to, kind of keep the athletics program going.
That's one of the things though with social media, fellas, that is just unbelievable. When there was a local blogger that posted the original story, and it kind of sounded suspicious. Well, the comments from the public, it just was sickening. Some of the stuff they were saying, accusing him of, had no facts whatsoever.
Right.
Facebook, man, I hate to say it, and we promote on there and post on there. Sometimes you just got to close the app, man. It's a lot of spewing of nonsense. I didn't know what you're talking about, but I can only imagine how idiotic some of the comments probably. They all are on any comment section, on any post, really. What is the deal with this county? Like, it's like we're almost like the ABA or something in the 1970s, like scandal after scandal. So what the hell is going on? Can we just get back to snapping the football and staying hike and playing football and sports for fun? I mean, what's going on?
Amen.
I mean, I think it's maybe because you stepped out of the chair. We don't you're guiding, just like the Great Gatsby, your eyes looking over everything in this community anymore. So I don't know what the hell the problem is, but we need to freaking straighten this up, man. It's not fun coming on. I don't expect the press spotlight to be freaking, murder mysteries every week like we've been doing, man. It's kind of depressing.
Yeah, no kidding. I agree with that. Well, anyway, that's the latest with the Prep Spotlight presented by the Jacobs Insurance Agency. We'll get into some of the big sports stories, including a big blockbuster trade and some other interesting trades in the NBA. The All-Stars have been set, so we got some NBA stuff to talk. The Super Bowl coming up. We got a lot more right after this.
Jacobs Insurance Agency has served Shiawassee County and the surrounding areas since 1977. Just like 3 Point Podcast, we've had 3 generations: Gary Jacobs Sr., Gary Jacobs II, Brian Jacobs, and myself, Noah Jacobs, serving our community with offices in Waterford and Owasso on M21, just west of Home Depot. Stop in or go online to jacobsinsurance.com to get a quote or get your questions answered by our team. Jacobs Insurance is a proud supporter of our local schools and the proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight. Insure everything, local, independent, and trusted. It's our family working together to protect yours. That's the Jacobs way.
All right, guys, I think it caught everybody by total surprise with Luka going to the Lakers, traded mainly for Anthony Davis. There was other players and other draft picks involved, but those were really the 2 key players. And I mean, that's a true blockbuster trade right there.
It really is. And it really makes you wonder what is the real reason? Why
Right.
would a team like the Dallas Mavericks trade Luka Doncic, who is one of the best players in the world, in his prime? He's only 25 years old. So you
Right.
can say he's still like entering his prime, or, he's in his prime. He's been all first team NBA 5 times. He led the Mavericks to the NBA finals last season. He obviously has his flaws as a player. He's not ever going to probably be all defensive team. He's not,
No.
Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant as a defender, okay, cool. But he is 100% one of the most dynamic players in the NBA. And they just up and traded him out of nowhere. And especially then for the Lakers to trade Anthony Davis, who, when he's playing well, and he has been the last couple of years, he's one of the best players in the league. And the Lakers actually have been playing pretty good the last couple of weeks. So it was definitely a wild trade. And that's what you just wonder, like, what happened? Because everything Luka Doncic has said is that he loves Dallas. Dallas drafted him, or there were some trades on draft day, but basically Dallas drafted him. It's where he wanted to, build his life. He had just bought a home in Dallas, so he was ready to settle there. And then he's up and he's traded to LA. It's just kind of crazy. Mark Cuban, who obviously used to be the owner of the Mavericks, he has sold some of his stake. He's like a minority owner. Even he said he was surprised by the trade, because Cuban, at one point, he said something like, if someone said either sign Luka Doncic to a long-term deal or divorce your wife, he said he'd be going to the lawyer and telling his wife to hit the road. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if it was Mark Cuban, he at least says that Luka's a Mav for life, like Dirk Nowitzki was. So really crazy, because then the other side of it, I think the Mavs actually maybe improved a little bit getting Anthony Davis. I really don't know how Luka and LeBron are going to work on the court at the same time. They'll figure it out, but those are two players that need the ball in their hands at all times, so wild trade for sure. My last thing I'll say, I know you're going to jump in, you guys. I wonder if it's more long-term type stuff. Obviously the Lakers know LeBron's not going to be around much longer. Are they thinking they want a guy post LeBron? And then the Mavericks, maybe they didn't want to give Luka that supermax in the long-term deal. So maybe it's both teams looking at 5, 6, 7 years from now. Still crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It made no sense to me, man. I'm a Luka Doncic fan. I've always loved Luka. The only way it makes sense is, he hates Dallas. Does Dallas truly hate him, which I think is true, or are both true? The trade it made no damn sense. I mean, that GM, Nico Harrison, I mean, that, my friend, is a scary move you pulled. I mean, it takes some serious balls to do it. It seems truly idiotic. At this point, I'd honestly be shocked if it doesn't seem idiotic in 5 years. But to do that, you are basically saying, hey, we win a title, and Luka cannot win a title. Luka, a guy who's been five-time All-NBA in his first 6 seasons, just went to the finals last year. And, I've heard the same thing, too, where it's like short-term Dallas is better. I'm not so sure. You think that, Matt? To me, I think Luka is arguably top number 2 player in the entire NBA when he's at his best in playoff time, when it's crunch time, behind Jokic. And they just traded him for Anthony Davis, who's got, 1 or 2, 3 good years left in him. Really, he's already injury prone as it is.
Right.
And I think I would rather have Luka just straight up over Anthony Davis on any situation on any team ever. I get Luka's been hurt, but I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys really think it's an upgrade immediately for Dallas? The trade made no damn sense, man. I can respect the guy's balls, and he almost seems like he's looping in Jason Kidd under his wing as well. But I saw the media availability right afterward. But this just seems like almost a suicide mission. This is a kamikaze mission of Pearl Harbor. Makes no sense why the hell they did this.
Yeah,
to me,
prove me. I'm right with you, Jared. I mean, prove me wrong, but I think it was a no-brainer. The Lakers says, "Oh yeah, we'll do this any day of the week." I saw the talking heads today. There was some takes that, like you said, Davis might be more important because he plays better defense, and Dallas might be more ready for a championship. Lakers aren't going to win the NBA championship this year, so it's got to be a long-term move. Lakers have all the money in the world. Even though they have salary cap stuff they have to deal with, but he's 25 years old. And like you said, one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world. And if they're worried about his defense, well, get some defensive players around him, because the guy can definitely fill it up. I mean, it's just a brilliant move, I think, by the Lakers. And, even with throwing out the LeBron thing, LeBron's only gonna be around another year or so, right? I mean, and a factor, they're gonna have to, even if he stays around, there's still time in the trade deadline. There's been talk about maybe he'll make a move to Golden State or something like that. It's just a wild time in the NBA right now.
LeBron isn't what he was, man. And that's what I think LeBron probably didn't know about this trade, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers didn't tell him. LeBron has lost his power. I said it 3-4 years ago against the Suns when Crowder was dancing in his face when the Suns knocked out the Lakers. I said, that's not the LeBron of yesteryear. That's not the LeBron I've known my whole life. And it's only gotten a little bit worse and worse for them. He's still a good player. He still knows how to pick his spots, but it's Luka's team now. It is his team. Whatever he wants is what's going to go. And LeBron, if he wants to stay in LA with Bronny, he's going to have to kind of sign up for that and be a good trooper. It's nuts. I mean, Matt, do you like Luka? Because you're the Lakers guy. Are you ecstatic about this?
I've always loved watching Luka. I mean, he definitely, last year, people are now sharing clips of last year in the NBA Finals versus the Celtics, and he definitely had some bad defensive moments in that series, and people are trying to use that to bash him. But to Ted's point, okay, that's fine. Well, get a couple wing guys who can be your go-to defenders and let Luka do everything he does, and then have the other guys defend. So that's what I've always thought, because offensively, I mean, there's no one that can stop him. I mean, every team has tried to do everything possible to stop him, and you just can't. So that's what I'm thinking, because like you guys have already said, LeBron's only going to be around another year or two. And then what were the Lakers going to do? Build around Anthony Davis? I mean, that doesn't sound super exciting. So now get Luka, and hopefully for the next 10 years, he's your guy, and you build around, and you hope you win a couple championships, and, go from there. That sounds more exciting to me than anything. It's funny you say that about the Jay Crowder and LeBron, because I work with a bunch of people your age or even younger, Jared, and I give them a hard time sometimes because they're all fans of, like Ja Morant and Anthony Edwards and some of all the younger dudes. And they kind of all say the same thing, like LeBron needs to retire. Like, just get out of the league, man. Get out of here. I'm like, you need to respect your elders, man. I'm not even a LeBron guy, but he's one of the top 2 players in the history of the NBA. They're like, nah, this is Anthony Edwards' league. This is Ja Morant's league. Like, this old dude needs to get out of here. And I'm just like, man, this is probably what I sounded like. And, when I was growing up and I wanted Shaq and Grant Hill and Anthony Hardaway and stuff to take over the NBA. But it's funny.
I'm
so
a LeBron guy.
I don't know. We'll see.
It is. He's old, and it happens to everybody. That's why arguably what made Michael Jordan so awesome and kind of like Tom Brady, where you retired on top, and now you never even you can't ever picture him not being the best player in the league. That's like the mystique. It carries on forever. Michael Jordan's still riding that. You never saw he came back and it kind of burned it a little bit, but for a few years there, you're tired out on top.
Right.
And Last Dance, who I watched, they didn't harp on the Wizards era. It was all about the Bulls and all that. So one thing that I thought was hilarious about it is the big reason that Mavs pointed out why they traded him was the weight problem.
Right.
We just talked about my weight. If you want to talk about me and how I need to lose weight, I do. Here's the thing with Luka. What about his game requires him to be 30 pounds lighter? I'd argue he's honestly better at 270, number they threw out, than he would be at a 240. What about? It's almost like a James Harden. James Harden does not benefit from dropping weight. Jalen Brunson would not benefit from dropping weight. This is a weird comparison. My buddy from high school, Cooper, who was 6 foot, offensive lineman with the Ferris State, but a damn good basketball player, was the best basketball player, not because if he dropped 20, 30 pounds, he could run like a deer, because he was stronger than everybody. He was bigger than everybody.
Yep.
If I'm defending Luka, I don't want to guard that extra 30 pounds. I'm not saying that it excuses it away, but the fact that that's their number one reason for why they need to get rid of this guy, it was almost like puzzling. It made no sense, man. The guy made it how much better can he be? He made it to the damn NBA Finals, hitting game time shots. Won the West. He flat out won the West,
right?
As a 25-year-old, and they just said, "Yeah, with you." It's just crazy. I think that they must really hate him. I think the GM probably hates Luka's guts and said, "Yeah, you're out." It's just amazing that a Mark Cuban figure to stop that. This is what can happen. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know, he does have the high contract coming up. Who knows what the Dallas Mavericks organization has to shell out. That's one
Right.
thing. You can throw the weight out if you want, but long term, you know, you carry more weight, you're going to be more injury prone. He's injured right now, you know, and it's the same thing with Zion with the Pelicans.
Oh yeah.
And Charles Barkley talked about it today. He was a fat ass, and he didn't become an all-pro until he lost weight, you know? So it goes hand in hand. But the other thing I think could be a factor, I don't know, watching Luka's behavior in the finals last year in the playoffs. I mean, his temper, is that ever going to be under control? Or maybe he doesn't need to be under control? I don't know, but it's a bad look.
Yeah, it's just culture. That's Europe. That's how they operate. They're nothing. It's just now we're seeing on NBA soil or on American soil. It's like I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's detracting from his play. It's a little annoying. I don't like watching it as a fan, but it is what it is. They all complain in the NBA, man. I think about how if you were a ref of any sport, the NBA would be the worst. There's no hiding. You're just getting ripped every game, whether you're calling a good game, bad game, close game, blowout, doesn't matter. You're getting ripped after every bucket. And he was probably number one public enemy one for referees, but still, I don't care if you put the ball through the rim and you're winning us ball games. Why do I care if you are bitching at the refs? Is my thought to that.
Yeah, well, refs are human, man. You're getting chirped on all the time. You might not get the call when it's crunch time. That's another factor, you know.
Right. Yeah, especially if you've never won the championships, you know, if
right.
you're not LeBron, you're not Michael Jordan, you're not Kobe, some of these other guys. I mean, yeah, maybe even like Steph Curry, you know, some people say he gets calls, but it'll be interesting. Yeah, interesting to see what else comes out, because what De'Aaron Fox from the Kings went to the Spurs to link up with Wembanyama. I think that's a cool move, because the Spurs right now, they weren't very good, and you got Victor Wembanyama. You know, you want to figure something out. So I think De'Aaron Fox actually will work well with him. It'll be interesting to see. They got to figure out whatever's going on with Greg Popovich, because he's still out. He's got some health issues, but he's still technically the coach. So I'll be curious how long he tries to stay coaching the Spurs. But definitely, you know, some big moves in the NBA. And like you said, the trade deadline is not till Thursday, so who knows what else is going to happen. The big one, though, Cade Cunningham made the All-Star game for the Pistons. I mean, this is what we have said all along. Like, if the Pistons are going to get back, and they're currently in the 7th seed right now for the playoff seed. So, I mean, they're in the playoffs. If they're going to get back to the playoffs and back to a legit team, they need an all-star. They've got an all-star. They've got the veterans. So they're playing some good ball. And Cade Cunningham, he's in the all-star game. He's legit, and it's cool to see.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're playing right now against the Hawks as we record this, and I think there's about 250 people at LCA. It's a sparse crowd here on this Monday night.
Yeah.
But yeah, great move. He deserves to be an all-star for sure with the season he's had. And you don't like to live in the past, but man, a Cunningham and Wemby combination on the Pistons. Oh my God, how awesome would that have been?
Oh, you would have been submitting for a press pass years ago if that had happened. What more can you say about Cade Cunningham? He's him, Cade Cunningham, as they call him. The team they've put around him. I mean, it's amazing how you get a new GM there. Trajan Langdon, young, cool, smooth. Just he's closed the deal on some of these veterans and getting them here. Tobias Harris, which the funny. Tobias Harris is like, people have a bad taste in their mouth about him because of his time with the Philadelphia 76ers. That all goes back to Joel Embiid just being a cancer, and he's not good enough to win you a title. So let's pinpoint the Philadelphia media is not going to come out against him because he'll freaking lash out against you, as we've seen. So let's just blame it on Tobias Harris. Never made any sense. He's a good player. He's a starter in the NBA. He's been a secret big-time addition for the Pistons, really helped them with their court space and everything. He's a veteran president. They call him Uncle Tobias for a reason. But Malik Beasley, he's going to shatter the Pistons single-season record for three-pointers if he doesn't get traded, which I don't think he is. He's the ultimate glue guy.
Yeah, hopefully
and
not.
then Tim Hardaway Jr. has been great as well, former Michigan man. And JB Bickerstaff, how many times can we talk about him? Monty Williams has to just be, I don't know, hitting the power button on his remote if he ever finds himself on a Pistons game. Just a 180 they've done. Fun little story. Millie talks about how when he came into practice first day, all the players had on, all these accessories and chains and all this different stuff. And JB Bickerstaff had like a look of disgust on his face. Like, take all that off. Do you play in that? No, take it. You're not practicing in it. And that's just one little microcosm. Who knows all those different small little details that he's really rounded into form. for this Pistons organization. This was the organization that was dead a year ago. Now it's like the young enough fun team that everybody loves each other. That's what makes it fun to watch them. Is we saw with the Tigers last year when they brought up all the young guys in the youth movement. You can tell when teams actually enjoy each other's presence and are having fun.
Right.
And that's Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, all these guys, even the veterans. You can tell they're a true team, and that's what's fun to root for.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I mean, it's a fun time to actually be a Detroit professional fan because all 4 professional teams on the up for sure. The Tigers made the playoffs last year. We know about the Lions, 15-2, even though they faltered in the playoffs, but they're going to be around for, at least another 3-4 years, solidly contending for sure. The Red Wings are on a major roll. We'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get off of basketball, I did want to talk briefly about the All-Stars. I think the teams are great, but I'm still confused on how this all-star game thing is going to work. I mean, it's like a little mini tournament or something. Explain that to me.
I mean,
I don't know. If you know how, go ahead.
You could probably explain it better than me because honestly, I've checked out of the All-Star game for the most part. I know there was a new format, and I remember reading through it when they announced it, and I was like, this does not interest me at all.
Nope.
It's pretty disappointing because we've talked about it before, I know, but I used to, look forward to the All-Star game, probably like with you, Ted, with the MLB All-Star game. I used to love the NBA All-Star game. It was the best. It was all the best players in the world playing against each other on the same court at the same time.
Hard. They played hard.
They competed. You got Kobe throwing alley-oops to Kevin Garnett. You got Jordan backing down Allen Iverson trying to cross, all this stuff. It was like, this is the best thing ever for an NBA fan. And it's just complete garbage now.
Yep.
And, it's still cool for like Cade Cunningham, Tyler Hero with the Heat. He got his first All-Star selection. So stuff like that is still cool, but the actual game is terrible. Honestly, I forgot that there was a new format when you started talking about that. I was like, there is a new format. That's how much I really don't care anymore because if the players aren't going to play, it doesn't make any sense. And, the slam dunk contest has been a mess for a while. The 3-point shootout is kind of fun, I guess, but All-Star weekend just isn't what it used to be. Still cool. I was going to ask you guys if you off the top of your head quiz, here comes the quiz, stump the Schwab. Who was the last Pistons All-Star? Jared, you might be able to guess. I'll be curious.
I know. I just got to work, but go ahead. You go.
Oh,
because when Cade got announced, I was like, who was the last Pistons All-Star?
Allen Iverson.
Good guess. He was actually, and I kind of forgot about that. He was an All-Star of the year. But after that, Andre Drummond made a couple. And then the year Blake Griffin was with the Pistons, he made an All-Star. But it's kind of crazy we've gone through that stretch. Hopefully now we're seeing things turn around for the Pistons.
Let's hope.
And how about the coolest thing real quick is, dude, I don't know about you. I've become with Caitlin Clark, and I don't know why. She's just a supernova. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I'm almost more excited for WNBA season than I am NBA. And Adam Silver is actually at the Pistons game on Friday night, and he literally said, and I quote, "It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the Detroit Shock come back." So I'm not gonna lie. I remember back in like the infancy of the WNBA, I went to a game with my brothers and my dad, and we had like 10 tickets, like 10 free tickets. And it was literally like stopping at every friend's house. Hey, you want to go to the game? You want to go to the game? You want to go to the game? We literally couldn't get rid of these tickets. Literally stopped on the way up to the Palace at Brady's house. They wouldn't come. So the fact of how much of a 360 the WNBA has done and how ready I think we all are for the Shock to come back. Like, I want to watch it, man. So that's another big thing coming to Detroit. If we can get that and also have those games at LCA, man, you can't beat Detroit as a sports town once the Shock are back. You guys care at all about that?
Yeah. Because they've got a bunch of people. Tom Gores is obviously behind it. I think I don't know if he said that, but like Grant Hill,
Goff.
Chris Webber, Jared Goff. They've got some athletes and some people with money that are going to support bringing the Shock back. And it would be cool because they won a couple titles too. So, they were a legitimate franchise. The thing I always think about, because they're trying to expand, I think, to like Seattle and maybe Vegas. They're trying to add a few teams, Nashville, I think.
Yeah.
And this isn't a shot. I enjoy the WNBA. I'm not going to act like I watch it a ton, but like when I work on it, it is enjoyable. So this isn't a shot at the league. I just hope it doesn't water down the product because some of the bottom of the league, the teams are really bad. I mean, the bottom of the league is just the teams are not competitive at all. And it just makes you think if they add a couple more teams, how are they going to spread out this talent? Because right now they're all on the Aces, the Sparks. Actually, now the Fever, where Caitlin Clark plays, they've signed like 3 or 4 veteran players. The Liberty in New York are good. So right now, like the only good teams are like 3 or 4 teams. The Chicago team with Angel Reese, they're good. So that's the only thing I think. Like if the WNBA is going to add a couple teams, I just hope it doesn't end up being like just a bunch of not very good teams, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoy it, especially when Caitlin Clark's playing. You know, I'll definitely check it out. She's the Pete Maravich of this era for sure. Maybe better for the way she plays, and you know, she's definitely a leader on the team. But you know, it's still going to take a while for me to get into it, because after watching that and the WNBA final last year, it was some of the most horrendous basketball I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
You know, competitive because it was a close game, but terrible basketball.
Right.
It's on Caitlin Clark. I mean, if the rest of the league is cool very as well, but there's just something magnetic about her. I don't know how to explain it. Even like her decision not to compete in the NBA 3-point shootout, but she said she's only getting WNBA. Like it's amazing. It's like a PR masterclass. Every step she takes is like nailing it. Like she had her number retired at Iowa yesterday. And I don't know, maybe it's just my Twitter. I have like all the killer content to see it. Probably everybody does, really, but she had this long speech, and she like USC was sat on the bench after they had lost. They just got upset by Iowa, who's unranked, and they're like, what, number 3 in the country? And the USC entire team didn't leave when she was addressing the crowd after the game, and like she like shouted them out and pointed out a few specific players. And she's just like very calculated and is just like a perfect person. It seems like. So I'm a fan of it, and I can't wait for the season to come around. We just need the shot to come around now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see her team, because, you know, the big thing last season was her Iowa team made the run to the finals in the NCAAs, and then the WNBA season started basically a couple months later. Yeah. So it was the big talk. Like she basically had no time off before that WNBA season. So now she's had a full off season. She's not going to be a rookie. The Fever signed a couple good players. It might be interesting to see. I don't know what the odds are, but I'd be curious what their odds are to win. Probably not the favorites, because the Aces and some of the other teams are still the favorites. But yeah, I mean, WNBA, they're doing what they can. It's still, you know, it's still to get. I mean, Ted, not to like put it on you, but like I think a lot of people feel the way that what you just said. You know, like it's going to take Caitlin Clark for sure, but it's going to take a while to like just tune into a random game on a Thursday night. That's not Caitlin Clark, you know? So,
yeah. And I think the biggest, I have nothing against women basketball at all. But sometimes I think the college game is better than the WNBA as far as the play on the court, you know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes down, but yeah, I'm all for bringing the Detroit Shock back for sure. You know, we want to move on from basketball. At least.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at Jared's hat there, the big news. I don't know where you were going to go, Ted, but do we want the Lions to pull the big trade and go after Myles Garrett? Myles Garrett, you know, the D end with the Browns. It's kind of funny. At the end of the season, he said he wasn't going to request a trade, and now he's saying he wants to be traded. I don't know about you guys, but he's the type of dude. He's got 2 years left on his contract. He's under contract for this season and next season. In the prime of his career, he's up there. He's one of the best with, you know, the Bosa brothers, him, Micah Parsons, Hutch, best DNs in the league. I'd be fine on Brad Holmes saying, what do you guys want? A first-round pick, 2 first-round picks? You want JMO? You know, you want a player, something like that, and go get him. Because we saw once Hutch went down last year, the D-line just couldn't ever kind of get it going the rest of the season. And you put a healthy Hutch next to Myles Garrett, and that's the best defensive line in the league. So I don't know. I don't want to trade everything away, you know, depending on what the asking price is, but I'd be all for it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we trust Brad Holmes. I'm with you. I saw like one of the tweets about it basically was like some guy, you know, highbrow, probably knows a bit more about, you know, salary type of crap with us, basically saying how, you know, Myles Garrett's due for a contract, you know, soon. So it's like you're basically trading for him. You're going to have to eat up that contract, obviously. And, maybe you're not going to be able to sign a player like Kirby Joseph or these others. And I'm like, I'm reading it. I'm like, I get what you're saying. I love Kirby Joseph as much as anybody. give me Myles Garrett over Kirby Joseph. Like, no
Mm-hmm.
offense. Like, if you like what you said, the second he walks in, this defense is now top 10 in the league, maybe even better. Defensive line, if you have the best defensive line in the league, I mean, damn, your defense is going to follow that. So I want to see it. It's the splash move. I'll trust Brad Holmes whether he pursues it or not. I think he has the right value of is it worth it, is it not, with what they give up. So I'll support him whatever he does, but I'm not going to lie. I would love to see that trade go through. You know, it'd be Craig, and that's what I was thinking about with the Doncic trade. Is I was not on my phone, and I got that alert from my buddy, and I want to like punch a wall. There's nothing like that rush of breaking news. We've all done it. We all know the situations. I remember when this is a little dire, but this is reality. I remember I was driving home from a job up north with a car full of like 5 of my buddies. And the Kobe Bryant news dropped, and I dropped it to the car, and it was like a rush. Obviously, it was a depressing rush, but it was like, wow, I was Schefter to these guys. So the fact that I didn't get to break anybody was a little bit of annoying thing. Matt, I remember you broke, I think, the Bryce Underwood news to me for whatever that's worth in your bank, I guess. But yeah, so I don't know, that was a long-winded way of getting there, but basically I would love to see Myles Garrett a Lion. What do you think about that?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key thing is, like Matt said, he's under contract for the next 2 years, right?
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about the mega raise in salary. And I'd hate to see them give up JMO or somebody like that, but I say, yeah, if you're talking about number 1 draft choice, why not? Because it's always going to be, high 20s anyway, right? So bring him in. I know we had talked about Max Crosby at one time, but if we can get Garrett and the price is right and it doesn't totally bankrupt them, we've also talked about the fact that the window is now. Yeah. So bring him in. Let's make our run in the next year or two. That's all you got.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. And again, in Brad Holmes, we trust. He's drafted very well, but you know what you're getting with Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
draft picks, you really don't know. So even though Brad Holmes has done well drafting, you don't know what you're getting with those draft picks. So why not trade a couple and get Myles Garrett? And then the thing is, I think Hutch, everything we've read about that injury is one of those that like he's going to heal fine. And with his work ethic and everything, he probably is going to come back actually better.
Mm-hmm.
But, that is a major injury. There is the small little side that we don't know what he's going to be like when he gets back out onto the field. We hope everything's fine and he's actually going to be better and back to defensive player of the year status and all that kind of stuff. But it might be nice to go after and get someone just in case Hutch, struggles a little bit those first few games, getting back on the field or whatever. So, if they want like 4 first-round picks, okay, I don't know about that,
right?
But I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, we need to go back to the Silver Rush days, man. I mean, there was the teams with the fearsome foursome and purple people eaters, and the Lions had a
steel curtain,
absolutely.
Who the hell was the Silver Rush? The Cowboys? It was the Silver Rush.
No, it was actually the Lions that had a pretty good defensive line, and I think it was in the 90s. They were called the Silver Rush.
Was it like the Robert Porsche and like
Bubba Baker?
Okay,
they were pretty good. They're pretty good.
Nice.
Well, Super Bowl's coming up, fellas. We did talk about it last week a little bit. I think it's still pretty within a field goal, the spread right now, or even less. Eagles and the
I can't wait.
Chiefs.
The Super Bowl is the best. I know there's a lot of people who are quote unquote boycotting it. I got a few of those texts after the Bills lost. It's a Super Bowl, man, and I like the dynasty of the Chiefs. Yeah, I'm rooting for them to lose along the way, especially like the Bills. But if they're there, let's see it. Let's see you win 3 in a row. We've never seen it. I mean, that's greatness. I mean, we get to see that with our own eyes. Something that's never been done in the NFL. And it's not like they have, cheaters or, Deshaun Watson type stories. It's like, I don't know, they're pretty by the book. I like Andy Reid. I like Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce is dating Taylor Swift. I like Taylor Swift, so I like him. I'm full bore for it. And it seems like every time we get a Mahomes or the Patriots and Tom Brady, it always seems like these Super Bowls have a little extra luster to them, in my opinion. What do you guys think? A lot of people are hating it. I like it. I can't wait for this week.
You got the best quarterback. You got the best quarterback, and you got the best running back on the other team. I mean, that's intrigue enough for me.
Right. I think we kind of said it last week that, initially I'm still a little bitter that the Lions aren't there. Obviously Ted is because he had to change his vacation, but
absolutely.
So that kind of comes into play still. It's my wife's birthday actually that day. And, she was like, oh man, we were going to go out to eat, do some other stuff or whatever. And she's like, are you going to want to be home, by kickoff? And I was like, honestly,
don't care.
I don't, yes, I want to get home and watch, but if we're out to eat for your birthday and I miss the opening kickoff, it's okay.
Right.
I really am not that. This year, I feel like I am a little bitter on it because I really thought this was the Lions' year. But no, on paper, this is a really good matchup. People can hate the Chiefs all they want. People can hate the Eagles. But on paper, this is probably the two best teams in the league, So it should be, you never know how it's going to go. Should be a really good game. Two really good quarterbacks. And yeah, Saquon going to go off and all the other storylines. Andy Reid is the winningest coach for both franchises, which is kind of a crazy storyline. But I just don't want to see Mahomes get a three-peat, but he's probably going to. Let's be honest. He's probably going to get a three-peat.
I think the Eagles winning would make your Lions, sadness amplify. I mean, because we know we could beat the goddamn Eagles. We know it.
Right.
We're fully healthy. If the Chiefs win, it's like, okay, the Chiefs were always inevitable. Maybe we would have got there, but, Chiefs would have ended up being there waiting for us. To me, that's how I would view it almost.
Yeah.
Where if you see Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni hoisting the trophy, it's like, it's going to make me sick to my stomach. It really is.
Yeah.
It might be because my Eagles, and I say that all the time, but might be because I know he's going to be cheering it. But God, I hate the damn Eagles. I don't know why. I just really hate them.
Well, it's coming up Sunday. We'll talk about the recap on the next show. Some other news in the NFL. The Raiders finally hired a coach, Pete Carroll. He's taken Chip Kelly from Ohio State. Ohio State now has lost both their coordinators.
Right.
And I see Eric Bieniemy is back in the NFL. He's working for Johnson there with the Bears. He's a running back coach.
Yeah, I wonder if that's kind of like a type of move because obviously Bieniemy was with the Chiefs and Andy Reid during big part of their run, and he was like one of the hottest offensive. He was basically Ben Johnson, back then, the hottest offensive coach that people were interviewing for head coach. So I wonder if that hire is maybe Ben Johnson being like, hey, come in and help me because I'm going to have to do some head coaching duties, so I'm going to need a little help on the offense. I kind of thought that was interesting too, but I don't know. I just hope the Bears go 1-16 because the way Ben Johnson left is still it's not sitting right with me, especially with how that game went. But no, that AFC West out there with Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, the rest of all the coaches out there, pretty solid crew.
Yeah. And I did see the latest rumor mill was Russell, who's the Steelers quarterback, maybe
Russell
going
Wilson.
to the Russell Wilson. Yeah, might be headed out to the Raiders possibly. So we'll see. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Dear God, I hope not. I love Pete Carroll. I'm glad he got another chance. It really kind of a sad moment was his Seahawks press conference when he got fired. For lack of a better term, he didn't want to leave. They forced him out.
Right.
Mike McDonald, who we like, but notice same exact results. Mike McDonald, Pete Carroll, doesn't matter. Same record, same BS. They missed the playoffs actually. So he's back in the league, gets to go out on his own terms. I think he's a legendary coach. I hope to God he doesn't saddle himself back to Russell Wilson because it's a sinking ship. So I hope that report isn't true for his sake. But for God, all I know, it could be. So knock on wood that that's not. But we'll see.
Stay tuned. Well, let's take one more short break here and come back and finish up with a few other sports topics right after this. All right, guys, we're right in the meat and potatoes of college basketball. Michigan beat Rutgers the other night, 66-63. They're now 16-5, 8-2 in the Big Ten. Wolf had 16 points, 14 boards. They're 10-0 at Chrysler. That's what we seem to see in Big Ten basketball. Teams that play at home are really tough because the Spartans found that out when they went out west and USC got them 70-64. But they're 11-0 at Breslin. So. Right. Both of the Big Ten teams, we've talked about it every week. They're going to probably make some noise when we get to the tournament, I would guess.
They should, and I really think Michigan is a pretty balanced team, but I think their best chance is when Danny Wolf plays the game that he played, against Rutgers. I'm not saying he doesn't have to score like 30, but he needs to kind of be the leader. Because Golden, he's had some games where he dropped 25, 30 points, but sometimes big guys, you can't necessarily rely on them like night in, night out. But Danny Wolf seems like the type of guy that can run the team. he can be your go-to guy when you need to get a bucket. So hopefully they can kind of figure that out. And Michigan State, I mean, they're fine. They weren't going to run the table in the Big Ten. It's just,
Right.
there's too many games, too many road games. Like you said, you have to go to USC, to UCLA. They still have to play this week. And, they were going to slip up somewhere. So, I obviously saw some people being like, see, not as good as everyone thought, throwing out those takes. It's like, they weren't going to run the table in the Big Ten anyway. So this, this is, they probably needed it. Honestly, I'm sure Izzo might be selling it that way. Like they needed a little bit of, let's come back down to earth with a loss.
Right.
So,
yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Exactly. The game that I got a kick out of watching was Arkansas versus Kentucky. You guys know I'm going to die with the ship. I love Coach Calipari. You knew he was going to win that goddamn game. Plus 425 money line, cashed it. It's my Super Bowl betting money now. Just roll that over a week. He's the man. I mean, we got to appreciate that he went into Kentucky with a team that's 1-6 in SEC play, really been floundering, and they put together a masterclass. They look like the team in the country on that night in a hostile environment. I loved watching it. Did you guys get a chance to check it out? And what does that mean? How special do you think that is? The thing that cracked me up. So they interview him. I don't know if it was because they were worried about like his safety, but they interviewed him in the tunnel rather than on the court after the game. And, players are yelling at fans as he's walking off. And Calipari was almost doing a good job of, like, acting like he wasn't that, gung-ho and happy about the win. Yelled at the player and walked away from the interview. The second he got in that locker room, there's water bottles getting dumped on him. He's going nuts. He's probably dancing. So I just love to imagine that. I appreciate it, man. Maybe he'll never win another title again, but that was a nice little twist of the night to Kentucky for how that all went down. So I appreciated it.
It was because Arkansas hasn't been that good this year. So, and Kentucky actually has been pretty good. So it was a little surprising for him to go in there and win that game, but also maybe at the same time not, because he, was able to get his team up for that one game. And maybe Kentucky was a little, the moment was too big for him or whatever. But no, I am not a Coach Cal fan like you are. I'm not buying what he's selling. And the stuff that he says about, I don't listen and trust anything he says. Basically,
he's selling snake oil. That's what he's doing.
Right.
But he can coach. He can coach.
He can.
And he's one of those old time coaches. He's been around forever too. So I don't know.
And still wears the shirt and tie. You gotta respect it, man. Notice the OGs that are doing that. Pino, him.
Johnny Fattel.
I think Grille still does it most of the time. I can respect that, man. Put the goddamn suit back on your damn shoulders. You're a millionaire. You're coaching big time hoops. Throw it on.
There you go. A couple other quick topics, fellas. That we touched upon it a little bit. The Red Wings, probably the hottest team in hockey right now, man.
Yeah.
They're in the wild card spot, the top wild card spot right now. Under McClellan, 14-4-3. And they're playing great hockey. I mean, it's back to, like we said, maybe April in the D is going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, it's the same as the Tigers last season.
Yeah.
Once you kind of get on a roll, get some momentum going, get feeling good. I mean, you never know. The sky's the limit, I guess, is if you want to say it that way. And that's maybe the coaching change is what this team needed.
Yeah, definitely.
Different voice in the locker room, different motivation, and now they're winning games. So now they can look at each other and be like, "See, we can do this." So no, we need playoff hockey. Jared, you don't even remember Red Wing playoff hockey.
I don't.
I know you do a little bit, but
no, I don't.
Red Wings need to be in the playoffs. That's just how it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a whole different game.
Cool, man. And McClellan, I didn't know much about Lalone, who was the previous coach. He just didn't seem like a hockey coach to me. A guy who knows nothing about the sport, just observing this guy. You need the hard ass. You need the yeller. You need the screamer. You need the guy that you look at and you're like, oh, God, I don't want to get on his bad side. That's McClellan. And I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. The wins speak for themselves. He started his tenure on a 7-game winning streak. They're at a 6-game winning streak right now. If they win tomorrow night, it's a 7-game winning streak.
Yeah,
they haven't had a 7-game streak in 20 years. He's potentially going to do that in his first 20 games. Pretty unbelievable when you really think about it.
Well, you talk about his methods. It's similar to what Scotty Bowman, the way he ran the Red Wings back in the day. You didn't mess around with him. He wasn't best buddies with the guys on the team. He was there to coach them, for crying out loud. Yep. And that's what seems like McClellan's doing. And go Wings, man. Let's keep it rolling. Let's wrap it up with this. I don't know if you guys caught the story. Flint's Clarissa Shields is now the first ever female undisputed heavyweight champion in boxing. Pretty amazing story. Coming out of Flint, she's 29. I think she's 16 or 17-0. She dropped Danielle Perkins in the 10th round last night, Sunday night. It's quite a story coming out of Flint, you know. I mean, I don't know how many female boxing fans there are out there. We know boxing kind of has lost some of its luster in general, but still, if you're the world champion, undisputed world champion in anything, that's pretty amazing coming right down the road in Flint.
It is. And, you know, friend of the podcast, Eric Woodyard, who we've had on before, mostly to talk Lions and some other stuff. He's done a few pieces on her. I mean, because he's from Flint. Obviously, she is too. And, you know, they're probably friends or, you know, know each other pretty well. I know he's interviewed her a number of times. I've seen him post some stories that he's done with her. So definitely those would be worth checking out. I'm surprised, Ted, that now that I'm surprised this hasn't come up. Have you seen the movie about her?
I haven't.
The Fire Inside.
Yeah, I should. Have you heard anything about it? Is it any good?
I've heard it's good because a couple of my friends went and saw it. They're big boxing fans, so they wanted to go see it.
Like
it's out
maybe within a half a year ago or so.
Yeah,
I think it might still be in theater. It's probably streaming by now. I'm not sure on the streaming, but it's definitely out. But a lot of it was shot in Flint, and you know, so there's probably a lot of stuff that you might recognize. But I have heard that the movie is really good. So
that's definitely on my list. I'll check that out for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, a future
my
entertainment.
First question was where did she train at? Because I go through foot, man. I haven't seen a boxing gym, but apparently she began training at Burston Fieldhouse. Does that ring a bell? Either of you guys?
Yeah, it's right on Saginaw Street. Yep, they play basketball
cool.
there too. Pretty cool field
Now,
house.
where did she go to high school? That's my next question.
Oh, now you're stumping me. I don't know. You'll have to Google that one.
At Flint Northwestern. There you go.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Pretty cool. It is pretty amazing, like you said. From Flint to be doing that, I mean, she's almost becoming like what seems like a star outside of the sport as well. Where I see her just on Twitter, you know, getting clipped for doing whatever, not even just boxing. So I think that's pretty cool as well.
I wonder if she trademarked the term GWOAT, GWOAT, you know, take off on the goat. It's kind of cool.
Have you been seeing how much money Riley is basically going to make from the term three-peat that he trademarked way back when the Lakers did it, like in the 80s? Like, guy, you talk about a true visionary, man. That's Pat Riley to a T. Whether it's on the basketball court, the business world, this GM situation with Jimmy Butler. I just thought it was hilarious that he had the foresight to trademark that all way back when.
That is pretty brilliant when you think about it, because it's just like, well, we're not even supposed to technically say Super Bowl, are we? Being in the media, are we supposed to do that?
I've heard different things because we've talked about that at work. Obviously, I don't know if you've heard that, Jared, but it's like it depends on how you're saying it, and like if you're putting it on a graphic or if you're putting it on something like on TV, it depends on like the context. It's the rules behind it are very strange.
Huh. Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe someone with the Super Bowl is going to hear this podcast and charge us some money. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll get that cease and desist letter.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys got anything else you need to get on the table here before we?
I mean, quick. We may as well. We fit every other team. Even talked about the Shock, and we talked about Clarissa Shields. The Tigers brought in Flaherty, brought him back. You know that starting rotation. We don't have to get deep into it, but Skubal, Flaherty, Reese Olson. They signed the veteran Alex Cobb. I'm not too excited about that. But then Jackson Jobe. You know, obviously the young guy that's supposed to be the next Justin Verlander, if you want to say that. I mean, Casey Mize is still there. You know, hopefully maybe Casey Mize can figure something out. That starting five, I still would like to see them add a bat or two. Alex Bregman.
Still might.
That
starting five is good. So,
yeah, go Tigers. I wish I was.
You got to admit it, right? I mean, he gets traded at the deadline, wins the title with the LA Dodgers, his hometown team. Loves it in Detroit so much, knows how valuable Chris Fed, AJ Hinch, that whole crew is. Pitched some of his best baseball of his career here at the start of the year. Would have been an all-star, honestly, if he stayed with us. Decides to come back. I mean, fan for life, in my opinion. Or that's what Jack Flaherty has in me, is a fan for life. And he's just a cool cat. Like, he seems like he should be playing, like, I don't know, like basketball or football. Like, he's almost too cool for baseball. So I'm glad to see him back and pitching for us. He pitches with a little bit of fire, kind of like Skubal as well. And I know Skubal had a quote basically said a few weeks ago, somebody asked him, like, who do you trust, like, in a big time pressure situation, like outside of yourself? And maybe it was him recruiting Flaherty. I don't know, but he said, I trust Jack Flaherty over anybody else. So pretty cool. It's going to be fun to watch those two guys pitch on back-to-back days. Springtime.
Absolutely. I wish I was going to Florida a couple weeks down the road when they'd have some spring training a little early.
Spring training? That'd be cool.
Yeah, no offense. You shift a few weeks. It was just because you happen to have this lined up with the Super Bowl or what?
Yeah, and then I'd have to eat some cost on tickets. And we just said, hey,
right.
we got the winter doldrums. Let's get some warm weather, man, right now. So that's the plan. Yeah.
Get out to some warm weather. What do you think about Jack Flaherty wearing number 0 as a starting pitcher? Do you like that, Ted, or is that weird to you?
I'm used to it now. I didn't really like originally when the number 0 came out and players were wearing it, but no, I'm okay with it. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, you love Mike Sander still as number 0 at Michigan.
What's that?
Is my mic not working tonight? I feel like I'm like talking to like the ether. Like
it's
it's a little choppy.
Mike Sander still for Michigan. You know, you loved it when he wore number 0.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
All right. That was kind of
All right, let's get out of here. Thanks to everybody listening, and thanks to Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Don't forget to follow them on Facebook. Find out how to save big money. Also, our other partners, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook & Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, the Shiawassee County Fair, and ALS of Michigan. By the way, we have a twin bill this week on Z92.5. Starting Tuesday evening, it'll be Langsburg at Perry, a CMAC matchup. And then Friday night, it'll be St. John's at Mason. You can tune in to Casey and Joe for those 2 games. That'll do it. Peace and love, everybody. Be kind. Thanks for listening.